Hi everybody, Matt and Tom back with you. Well, today's video is a little bit perhaps self-indulgent, but it's something I've been meaning to do for a very long time. Today we're in Hull, and believe it or not, this is the birth town of both Tom and myself. But we've had very different experiences of being here. Tom was brought up here, lived here for a long time before moving away from here. I left here after about 8 months, and the reason I left is because I was adopted. So I was born on the kitchen table by two very young people who couldn't look after me, and officially I'm a Barnardos baby. Now, I've been meaning to do this for quite some time. It's to come and look at locations of my own past, where I was born, where I ended up before ending up with a wonderful family in Old Town above Hebden. Because of the nature of this, I will say that I did meet my mum and my dad in the last decade, and it didn't quite work out, and that's as far as I'm going with that. And I'm not even going to mention them by name for this video. I'm quite a secret still because of the events that happened back there, so it's purely looking at locations that I've come from, but also some other bits on the way. Tom's going to show me some interesting areas that he thinks, well, yes, and we'll leave that at that for now as well. But yeah, let's see what we can find. So we're in one of the oldest areas of Hull here. Some very interesting buildings. Apparently I have long distant relatives who lived in this area, and what happened here with one of them?
One of yours was baptised here.
Baptised here. As you can see it in the sunshine. There we go. An old mission.
Trinity.
So this is Trinity School.
School of Seamen. No, it was Able Seamen.
Yeah.
No, that was the title. They all went to sea.
And they were very able.
Very able. Start flying.
So this is Holy Trinity Church. What's my connection to here?
So many of your relatives were buried, married, and born and registered and baptised in this church.
Wow.
And the one just behind.
Yeah.
And where we're standing now used to be, when I was a child, a big graveyard. But they've since miracled it.
All right. I wonder where the graves have gone.
Well,
Shall we have a look inside?
let's have a quick look.
So this is just a quick look inside the church. Wow. Okay, this building here is the former officers of Pearl Assurance. My grandfather worked here at the time I arrived. And this area is called what?
The Land of
The
Green
Land of
Ginger.
Green Ginger.
There's an Alan Plater play for today called The Land of Green Ginger, starring Gwen Taylor.
Ah.
And they refer to Hull as a fish and chip shop at the end of a railway track.
Okay, that's a good building though, that one. So Tom, I quite like the idea of dark alleys. What have we got here?
Well, here we've got the pathway, but way back in the 1800s, this used to be called Manor Alley. Down it, there was a place called Bolton Square. Now, some of your ancestors way back when, in about 1851 or 1861 census, the Buckle family and Erskines are living down at number 5 Bolton Square off Manor Alley.
Okay, yeah, let's have a look. So what have we got down here? Wow. Oh wow, look at this. Ancient doorway. That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. Oops.
Hello? And obviously it's changed quite a lot, but it's really been
Yeah. So we're on another alley. Happens to have a fish on it. But this one, Tom, has a special meaning for you, is that right?
Indeed.
Yeah, so what's this?
By the squid
Oh wow.
over there
Yeah.
is my front door, where I
This is where you lived?
first lived with Bella.
Wow. And it backs onto.
It backs onto the pathway and the old square.
Wow.
And this wasn't built till 1869.
Yeah.
So, you know, probably wasn't.
Wow. Well, welcome home.
Welcome home.
And how weird that your house backs onto former relatives of mine.
Indeed.
Wow.
Indeed.
Okay, back out, and we have. My goodness, what's this one called?
St Mary's of Lowgate,
Wow, that's beautiful.
which some of your relatives have been married in, and
Right.
famously Albert Tetlock from Rochdale.
Oh wow.
and
Married
Colin.
here.
Married there.
Wow.
Obscure.
Very obscure. So this is High Street. We've just come down there. Bishop Lane, was it?
Bishop Lane. Yeah.
Next to Hitchcock's restaurant. And I had a relative on here.
You did. This is one of your great
Right. And this looks like a very notoriously named famous pub. Wow.
I've taken the picture down. Just have a picture.
Might be for the
Come on
best.
with a stick.
So there's a museum here to do with William Wilberforce. We're not going in it today. I think there might be a statue of him here. Yeah, there he is.
Oh yeah, Venn. He was from here. John Venn.
Right. We're heading this way, yeah?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Further down the high street.
So where are we now?
So we're up Blade Shipyard, which is further up the high street, and this is where the Bounty was built.
Oh wow. As in Mutiny on the Bounty.
Not
Fabulous.
not the chocolate part.
And across the way here, we have, behind the trees, is Hull College. So this is where my birth mother came to college to study hairdressing. So we've got a bit of your history here then, Tom, have we?
So when I was a young strapping lad, I used to work at Richard Green Academy.
Right.
You'll see the sign.
Yeah.
And And some nights after a few too many sherries, I'd end up sleeping in the dance studio.
Oh wow.
I won't sleep there now.
No, obviously it didn't cope with your loss.
This is what I do to a building.
So this area obviously has a very different feel to where we've been, but this is Matchell Street, and I have relatives here.
You have relatives here, you have relatives all across the whole Wincolmley estate,
Oh, wow.
which got pulled down in the 30s because of all of its criminality.
Right.
But your lot had left by then, and they'd gone over the river to the east side.
Oh wow. Across the other side. What I am looking forward to here, looks like we have some pretty good graffiti coming up, so we'll film this as an extra.
Lots of dereliction.
Even better. So we've seen some very different parts of Hull. The area we've been walking through is streets of graffiti. The old town doesn't have any graffiti at all, so it's good that there seems to be somewhere they can come and create artwork. So we're going across, what we're going across now?
The River Hull.
The River Hull, and we're coming into East Hull. It does all look very different to what we've seen so far. Yeah, it's all very interesting. I'm glad we're getting some of Tom's past history in here as well. This location is called Reckitt's, and again back in the 70s this was where my grandmother worked.
Reckitt's Blue.
Reckitt's Blue? Okay. This is a pretty huge factory. I think my grandma would have worked in the offices. Calling her my grandma, you know what I mean, she's not really the person who was my grandma. So we're now coming up to Holderness Road, and number 348 Holderness Road was the offices of Dr. Barnardos, and when I was born it was obvious I wasn't going to be able to be kept due to my birth parents' ages. I was put up for adoption and moved to Barnardos, so not sure if it's still there. So far lots of things have been here despite that passage of time, so let's see what we can find when we reach Holderness Road. Holderness Road, this way. So there's quite a lot of abandoned property in Holderness Road. Not sure. This be an old pub maybe? Another big abandoned complex through here. And across here we've got the library, but the pool hall also looks abandoned to me. Okay.
So my parents always used to call this Mucky Bucky Street, and indeed you have got some relatives from it.
Of course.
But several of your relatives have come from. This is really where they moved to in the early 1900s and lived, you know, until the 50s.
Right. On Mucky Bucky.
Yeah, it was been pulled down.
So there is a Barnardos shop across the road. What we've found out is that actually the Barnardos I went to is now a nursery school, so potentially filming it might be problematic, as we wouldn't be allowed to film something like that, but we'll have a look, see what's there. Okay, so the building with the green, that's, as I said, that's the daycare centre, but that was Barnardos, where I ended up about, 3 days old I came there. It's interesting that next to it is a shop called Parker. Happens to be my surname now. Of course, I've not actually told you what my real name is. But again, that's just to keep it out of the limelight for some other people. Just opposite the old Barnardos is Rank House, which is this. This is the birthplace of J. Arthur Ranks. If you've heard of Rank Films, that was him. So we're now in a place called Long Hill Estate, and there's a street here somewhere called Torridge Grove. And when I was adopted from Barnardos, I was obviously initially put with a foster mum, and that foster mum's name, I'm quite happy to tell you, was called Mrs. Park. So again, strange, because eventually I became Parker. So we're looking for where I would have spent, from maybe 4 months with my foster mum. I don't know much else about her, if anything else about her. I imagine she won't be here anymore though. So here we are, this is Torridge Grove. This is where I spent a few months of my life. So I lived at number 17. So without getting too close, that is 17. Amazing. So another one for Tom. What street is this?
This is Salthouse Road in East Hull.
And why are we here?
Well, this is Wilberforce College, just coming up on the left, where my father worked as the vice principal for 25 years.
Oh wow, okay.
A
Sixth form college. I'll see that in a second. Apparently it looks very different to what it did. So now we're coming into Sutton Village. Apparently a lot of my relatives were here once. It's also the home of John Prescott. So this is Prescott Towers. So, don't know exactly what relatives lived here in Sutton, but what we will do is have a quick look around the graveyard here, just to look for surnames that I know are linked in. Some of these gravestones are very weathered. No idea who that is. Same again. It's a nice spot. Very peaceful. A lot of these have just completely worn off. I remember having flashbacks to early Christchurch graveyard days here. Maybe as many as we can see. Some of these are going to be lost until somebody comes along and clears it. So, this has certainly been a very intriguing day so far, and very different video so far. I said at the beginning I apologise if this is a indulgent video, but I've been meaning to do this for a very long time. There's been a couple of times it's got a bit emotional. Finding Mrs. Park's house was interesting, and you saw those people appear on the camera. I did ask them if they'd heard of Mrs. Park. They'd been there for 10 years and said that the house there has been changed quite often. It was quite had troubled tenants over the last decade, so sadly she's not there, but I didn't expect her to be. Yeah, the other one that's a bit weird is on this video is my actual sister-in-law, and she has no idea I exist, and I don't really know her. I don't know her name. It was very, very hard. It's been alright. It's been trickier than I thought it might have been. But I'm doing it this once and that's it. And it's been lovely to add Tom's history here too, and he's got quite emotional. His dad's passed away, so I'm going past his old school where his dad taught. Yeah, so they're not all like this. This is the first time you've ever watched my videos. They're not all like this. But I think the toughest one now is still to come. It's the house I was born in, and it's on Cavendish Road. And I was basically born on the kitchen table, and that was a complete surprise. Like I said, my birth parents were 15, 16, so that's why they didn't keep me. But I shall say this now, I'm very glad they didn't, because the family I ended up with was the family I wanted to be with, and I would never change it. So now we're on an old railway line, and this takes us to Cavendish Road. Okay, so we are coming up on Cavendish Road. Okay, so here we go, for the first time since 1976. Back on Cavendish Road. This is really weird. This is a very strange feeling. Number 58 is what we're looking for. Let's see if we can find it. So, again, I'm quite aware there will be somebody living in it now. So, I don't want to intrude too much. We're up to 52. 54. That's the last one. 58. Is there? Wow. Amazing. So there we go, behind me, 58 Cavendish Road. Apologies to anybody who lives there now. Tried not to intrude too much. But yeah. If you're watching this, I arrived on your kitchen table. in October 1976. Yeah, that's it. So across from Cavendish Road over there is Ings Road, and I think my birth dad lived on this one. But that's a conversation from years ago. I can't quite remember. Just in the back of my mind I had Ings Road somewhere. So yeah, I know they lived fairly close to each other back then. So as we head back into Hull, we have some more graffiti to look at. Dr. Robotnik at the top there. Where are we now?
Well, no trip to Hull would be complete without a trip to Spiders nightclub. It's been open as Spiders since the 70s. It's in fact a sort of 1930s building. Famous goth club and very cheap drinks for a lot of underageness and a lot of people in Lame and rubber.
Oh,
I
wow.
used to come here a lot when I was underage myself. and since,
Yeah.
but not for a long time.
That's awesome. So Rubber Nightclub.
Well,
So it's just a few pics from inside, and it definitely looks like my kind of place. Next we walk past Anison's funeral parlour, known as Hull's most haunted building. Staff at the pharmacy below never venture upstairs. In 1891, this was a photograph studio, and Mary Jane Langley came here to have her photograph taken. She was never seen alive again. She was later found in Preston, murdered. No one was ever convicted of her murder, and her ghost has often been seen by visitors and staff at the building here. How old these are.
then again, it was 1987, so I guess I do.
So this is an old abandoned building here called Northern Divers, which used to go down and look at shipwrecks. Wow. So there we go, guys. We're going to draw our whole video to an end here. If you've watched right through to the end, I do thank you. I know this is not one of our regular kind of videos. It's been my personal odyssey. I want to thank this guy here for all his work in terms of planning out where we were going, and he's done such a lot of work on my own family history and family tree. So yeah, but it's been good that we've managed to cover some ground with you as well. It's going to take a lot of just taking in exactly what I've done today, but yeah, if you've watched it with me, watch me do this, I do thank you. Okay, back to regular kind of stuff very soon, so we'll see you later.